The engines on the island of Sodor were excited. A new park was being built. Everyone was working hard to get the job finished on time. Duncan was feeling impatient. "Get a move on, slow coach," he puffed crossly to Rusty. "You're so slow, I'll finish first," Duncan boasted to Skarloey. Skarloey was cross. A little later, he met Rusty at the new park station. "Duncan thinks he's fast," Skarloey steamed, "but he's just a bossy boiler." "Better safe than fast," Rusty agreed. Duncan drew into the station. He was all puffed up and pleased with himself. "I finished first," he wheezed proudly. "In that case," said Sir Topham Hatt, "I've got another job for you. You're to collect the elephant on the sidings and take it to the park." "Yes, sir," chuffed Duncan. "This elephant is very important. You must be very careful." When Duncan saw the elephant, he was surprised. "Why, it's only a statue," he said. "This is an easy job." "You must wait for the brake van," said the station master. "This statue is very heavy." "Nonsense," huffed Duncan to his driver. "I've pushed heavier loads than this plenty of times." "Let's go, Duncan," said his driver. "But we must be careful." So they left, but without the brake van. But Duncan wasn't careful. He was impatient. "We'll show them how fast I can be," Duncan whistled. "We'll deliver this statue, and I'll still finish first." Duncan started to speed up. Soon, Duncan was going as fast as his wheels could carry him. His driver was starting to worry, so he tried to brake. But Duncan was out of control. He was scared. He had never gone this fast. People waved, and cars tooted as Duncan sped by. Suddenly, a tractor trundled across Duncan's line. "Look out!" shouted his driver. Slow down, whistled Rusty. "I can't," Duncan cried as he shot past. Whoa! Elephant Park loomed ahead. Duncan's driver applied the brakes, but it was too late. The statue flew through the air and landed in the lake. Luckily, nobody was hurt. In no time, Sir Topham Hatt arrived. He was cross. "I told you to be careful. You should have waited for the brake van," he said sternly. "I'm sorry, sir," mumbled Duncan. He felt very embarrassed. Duncan was prepared in time for the opening of Elephant Park. He was very surprised to see the statue was still standing in the lake. "Everyone loves the elephant in the lake," said Lady Hatt. "Even if it was a mistake," added Sir Topham Hatt. "Hooray for Duncan's mistake!" cheered the engines. Duncan blushed and went a deep shade of red.
And now, more wintry warm-ups from your pal, Pingu. Winter's a wonderful time to be with family and friends. Skating, sledding, and frolicking in the snow. And be sure to keep that camera handy to save all those snowy smiles. Say cheese, everyone! Come have more wintry fun with Pingu every day on PBS Kids Sprout.
"Hurry up, I'm a busy engine," huffed Henry. Goods arrived night and day at the docks. Sometimes Henry and the other engines worked so hard that their axles ached. Sir Topham Hatt brought in a new engine to help with the heavy workload. He was long and had 10 drive wheels. He looked very strong.
This is Murdoch. He's going to be pulling freight on the main line.
Ahoy, matey! Shouted Salty.
Welcome, Murdoch,
Called Harvey. You're the biggest engine I've ever seen, cried Thomas.
You're a chatty lot,
Murdoch said quietly. Soon Murdoch was coupled to a long, long line of heavy freight cars. His boiler strained, his wheels started to turn, and the mighty engine chuffed away. Murdoch longed for some peace and quiet. But everywhere he went, it was noisy and crowded. At the end of the day, Murdoch was looking forward to a good night's rest. But Salty and Harvey were full of questions.
What's the longest train you've ever pulled?
Have you ever worked Marseille?
Have you ever crashed? Please, I want some peace and quiet. And I don't want to share a shed with chatterboxes.
No need to be rude, huffed Harvey.
Hey, we're only being friendly, matey.
The next morning, Murdoch collected another long, heavy train. This time, he chuffed into the beautiful countryside. It was splendid. At last, he had some peace and quiet. Suddenly, his driver applied the brakes. There were sheep on the tracks. The sheep escaped from that field, said the driver, through that broken fence. The driver and the fireman tried to chase the sheep back. First this way, and then that way. They tried everything, but nothing worked.
We'll never move these sheep by ourselves,
complained the fireman. I'll go and phone for help, sighed the driver. Murdoch was very unhappy. The noisy sheep were spoiling his peace and quiet. Sir Topham Hatt was enjoying afternoon tea when he got the call.
Sheep? He exclaimed loudly. I'll send Toby with the farmer immediately.
The sheep were becoming noisier and noisier.
Please stop, groaned Murdoch. I'd rather be back with the chatterbox engines.
Just then, Toby chuffed into view.
Toby,
exclaimed Murdoch.
We're certainly glad to see you.
Before long, the farmer and his dog went to work. And the sheep were soon safely in their field. And Murdoch was on his way again.
Thanks, Toby.
That evening, Murdoch parked between Harvey and Salty. But Murdoch spoke first.
I'm sorry that I was cross, he chuffed. I'm very pleased to share a shed with you.
And we're very pleased to have your company, said Harvey.
Aye, we are,
added Salty.
It reminds me of a story.
Murdoch smiled. The sound of ba-ba would have kept him awake, but a Salty story would send him happily to sleep.
And now, more wintry warm-ups from your pal, Pingu. Always be sure to bundle up for those chilly winter days by keeping your head nice and toasty. But be sure that cozy knit cap is really meant for you, Pingu. Come have more wintry fun with Pingu every day on PBS Kids Sprout.
Thomas and Fergus the traction engine are friends. Fergus is the pride of the cement works. Fergus knows all the rules and obeys them. One day, Sir Topham Hatt brought Devious Diesel to the cement works. I need Diesel to help for a while. Fergus, please show him around. Yes, said Fergus unhappily. He knew that Diesel could be trouble. Later, Diesel was being careless. Not like that, snapped Fergus. Do it right.
Don't interfere.
Sneered Diesel. You don't know the rules, shouted Fergus. Diesel was very annoyed with Fergus and started plotting a devious plan. Later that day, he pretended to have news for Fergus.
Sir Topham Hatt wants you to work at the smelters.
Me? But I'm the pride of the cement works.
Not anymore. Sir Topham Hatt says I'm better than you, so I'm going to stay here.
It's not fair. I love working here. But he knew that really useful engines have to do as they are told. Fergus and his driver arrived at the smelters. I want to go back to the cement works, wailed Fergus. None of the other engines like coming here. It's so scary. You're right, said his driver. Just then, the scrap diesels arrived.
Hello, are you happy to be here?
No, cried Fergus. His driver was scared too. Come on, Fergus, we're going to escape. And for the first time, Fergus broke the rules. Sir Topham Hatt was enjoying a tasty fish supper when he heard that Fergus was missing. That's not like Fergus. There must be something wrong. I will send Thomas to look for him. Fergus and his driver turned onto an unused track to find a place to hide. Fergus was frightened. So was Thomas. He puffed up and down the line. He couldn't see Fergus anywhere. We could search the old mine track, said his driver. That line is dark and spooky, whispered Thomas. But he had to be brave and find Fergus. Fergus was on a siding. His fire had gone out. Then he heard a sound. It's an engine, he cried. Fergus, whistled Thomas. Whatever are you doing out here? Hiding. Don't want to work at the smelters. Sir Topham Hatt is going to be cross with me. He's not, cried Thomas. He's worried about you. Really? Of course, puffed Thomas. Fergus felt better. Thomas pulled Fergus all the way to the smelter's yard, where he knew Sir Topham Hatt was waiting. Fergus, explain yourself. I ran away. It's scary here. Diesel told Fergus that you wanted him at the smelters forever. Nonsense, Fergus. You are the pride of the cement works. I shall send Diesel to the smelters, and you can go back to the cement works tomorrow. Oh, thank you, sir, said Fergus happily. Fergus knew he had a good friend in Thomas, and he was still the pride of the cement works.